teaser, listeners, I thought I would do a reaction video to a therapy session in the TV show The Office. Let's watch.
But my punishment is worse than hell.
Michael's been assigned 6 hours of mandatory counseling with a trained professional. I actually have a degree in social work. I mean, I know a lot of people would just ask a few standard questions and check off a few boxes, but I got a chance to do something good here.
Okay, so the first thing I'll say is this is one of my favorite shows ever, so I love reacting to this right now. The second thing I'll say is that Michael Scott has been mandated to 6 hours of counseling, and Toby as HR would probably be involved in that decision-making process, but he wouldn't be involved in the actual administration of the service. I am guessing that the mandated counseling has a clause in there or something that means that you have to go to someone that is licensed. You have to go to a qualified professional. And just because you have a past degree in social work doesn't mean that you're a qualified professional. It certainly doesn't mean you're licensed. And I would be very surprised if Toby's character was licensed as a clinical social worker. So that's unethical to say that I can provide counseling just because I have a past degree in social work. The other issue is even if he was licensed, most people would consider this to be not a good idea and potentially an ethical violation because Toby has a relationship with Michael. He is a coworker. So for example, for me, if like a student comes to me or a coworker comes to me and says that they would like to hire me as their therapist, I have to say no. I mean, I don't necessarily have to, but it is generally accepted to be against ethical codes to accept that client if there are alternatives. And there certainly are in Seattle. There are plenty of other therapists. So we call this a multiple relationship or a dual relationship, meaning that I would have not only a therapeutic relationship with that person, but I would also have a colleague relationship or a student-professor relationship. And Toby has a coworker relationship and now a counseling client relationship, which can cause problems for the client. It can cause harm for the client. Say, for example, Michael Scott tells something to Toby about someone else at work. Michael says to Toby, yeah, I'm having all these thoughts of anger towards Jim and I don't know what to do. Well, now Toby has to hold on to that. And now Michael is wondering, is Toby going to keep that secret from Jim? And that can really make the treatment much more complicated, cause the client to not trust the therapist or not open up to the therapist because of that reason. And so that's why we generally try to avoid those dual relationships.
I know what you want to ask me. Did your mom ever see you naked?
We can do this with more privacy.
So you can molest me? Okay, I don't think so.
So the other thing is they are doing the therapy in the break room, which of course is not a confidential space. They haven't even drawn the blinds so everyone can see in. That's also a problem. But he just suggested maybe we could do it in a more private setting. And Michael is saying, what, so you could harm me? So right away, we're looking at a situation where Michael doesn't want to be in therapy. The client doesn't want to be in counseling. And this is why I decided as a therapist I refused taking mandated clients a long, long time ago. In the beginning of my career, I didn't know any better or I kind of needed the clients because I was trying to pay my student loans off. But as I could decide on my clients a little bit more in my early career, I decided I do not want to work with mandated clients for this reason, because they don't show up meaningfully. They're just wasting my time. I'm wasting their time. And, very rarely someone would come in mandated and would work meaningfully with me, but usually not. So Michael is exhibiting a very common approach as a client of like, okay, I'm forced to be here, fine. I'll sit here and I'll just wait for the time to go by. You're not going to get into my head.
We're going to leave the blinds open so everybody can see what a big failure you are. That's the key.
So I will say that I know enough about the Toby-Michael dynamic to say that I think for Michael, he considers himself a failure inside of himself. He's really insecure and has issues from his past. and I think projects that part of himself that he hates into Toby and then attacks it. This is what we call projection or projective identification, in which we have difficulty, we have aspects of ourselves that we don't like, we project them onto someone else. We might even find someone that is easy to project onto, and then we proceed to attack that because really we want to attack it on the inside of ourselves. And it's easier, or it feels easier, it's less anxiety provoking to attack on the outside than it is to attack on the inside. Because if we're going to attack ourselves on the inside, we don't know what to do with that, we don't know how to resolve that. But if we attack it on the outside, we have a fantasy that we're resolving it because we're like, well, they're the failure, I'm not. I'm a successful person, they're the failure, and I can walk away with the fantasy that I'm not the failure when Michael himself believes that he's the failure.
Oh, what's your favorite flavor of
1 hour.
what?
1 hour. We've done 1 hour. Let's just speed this up, okay? Keep it moving. I want to do all 6 hours.
Oh, look, I can't count the hour if you don't talk.
No. I know my rights. All I had to do is sit here for 6 hours, do my time.
Right. So that's the way mandated clients would approach it. They considered it a sentence. And incidentally, in a related way, I would have clients come to me like teenagers who were forced into therapy, or a husband who was forced into therapy, not mandated by the court, but by relationship. Say a wife is like, if our relationship is going to work out, you're going to go to therapy. Or to a teenager, he runs away, or she gets Fs in all her classes and she's forced into therapy. It was a similar situation where two people are, client and therapist are forced together and neither one of them wants to be there. In my early career, I would accept those clients and really, really try to get things going in a session. And then after a while, I was just like, ugh, never mind. It is really, really annoying to sit with someone for an hour while they don't want to talk to you. And I one time grabbed a book. This is early. I was at internship actually, and I didn't know what to do. I grabbed this phone book thing and I just started flipping through it because I didn't know what else to do because he wouldn't respond to me. It's a very difficult situation. And what I try to do with my trainees is I try to empower them with the ability to say, you don't have to sit there with clients that do that to you. Now, sometimes people come to therapy with resistance and we want to try to open them up. We want to try to make them feel comfortable. We want to try to draw them in. Certainly, we can do that. But beyond a certain point, it's not therapists' responsibility to sit there and coerce people into therapy. The analogy that I give to my students, not in this situation, but in other situations, is dentists don't force people into their chair and pull out their teeth, right? Dentists don't roam the streets and say, hey, I see a cavity, and push someone down and pull out a tooth. Well, the same goes for therapy. We don't force therapy on people. People come to us. People go to dentists voluntarily. They say, I have a toothache right now. Can you please help me? And the dentist says, okay, I will help you. I will help you. Same with therapy. People come to me and I try to model that for my trainees, that you deserve to have clients that want to talk to you, that want to change. And you shouldn't have to deal with clients that don't want to be there. Again, some clients, particularly teenagers, they're not super enthusiastic about therapy, so you want to maybe give it a few months to try to get them into the swing of things, get them comfortable so that they can engage, and they often will. But just know that you don't have to sit with people. So that's what I'd say to Toby. I'd say, you don't have to do this if you don't want to. Now, I also know enough about Toby to think that he actually probably is enjoying this power because he often feels powerless because Michael will bully him. And right now, this is Toby's chance to exert his power over Michael. Let's watch.
Michael, it's up to me to check off the boxes, and I can't do that unless I honestly feel
You
that
have any idea how angry that is making me?
Tell me. I think we might be about to maybe really get somewhere.
Yes, I will. I will talk all right.
Okay, so where is Toby trying to get? This is another myth that is usually in the public, that therapists have this agenda and that clients come in like, okay, what are you going to do to me? And the client sits down and the therapist like attacks the client with all their mental tricks and like opens up their head and figures out all these things. That's not what therapy is, typically. I'd say a very small percentage of therapists actually think that way, and that would not be a good way to think about therapy. What therapy is the client comes and says, I need help with these 10 things. Please help me with this. And then you as a therapist say, well, I can help you with 8 of those. I can't help you with those other 2. Maybe you could talk with someone else about those other 2, but I can help you with those 8 things. And here are the things that I can provide to you as a service of therapy. And then the client says, okay, I kind of like those things, but those other things, I think that's going a little too fast for me. And you work it out. This is what we call the therapeutic alliance, and then you move forward. So in this therapeutic situation, which is very frequent, the way that TV and movies will portray therapy is the client is coming in guarded and resistant, and the therapist there to screw with the client's mind while the client is trying to dodge, but the therapist knows how to get in there. It's not a very useful way of thinking about therapy.
Be careful what you wish for, Toby. Toby, can I really tell you anything?
Of course.
Well, the other night, I was sitting at the table eating my penis. I mean peas. That was weird.
Okay, so they're making a joke about Freudian psychoanalysis. He's lying down on the couch. I will say, as a non-psychoanalyst, as just a regular psychodynamic therapist, clients will lie down on my couch sometimes to get comfortable, and there is some usefulness to that. You get into a different state of mind sometimes, especially if you're staring up or even closing your eyes. Clients don't usually do that, but they certainly can, and sometimes they benefit from that. And Michael is trying to mess with Toby by faking this Freudian phallic mistake, right? This Freudian slip, as we will call it, where instead of saying peas, he said penis. And so let's see what Toby says. I think Toby might realize that he's being sarcastic.
I was probed by an alien life force, an ALF. Alf. You know, I might have actually been probed by Alf. You might think he's a puppet. You never see the lower half, but there's a lower half.
So he is resisting, and he is being sarcastic with contempt towards the therapist. And if I were the therapist, I would immediately say, okay, I get it. You don't want to be here. You know what? Let's just call it a day and let's move on. And especially with a mandated client, and I would do this back when I would take mandated clients, I would say, so, you know, I don't want to sit here with you any more than you want to sit here with me if you don't want to utilize therapy. So let's, you know, it's 5 minutes into the session. Let's just end it right now. But I want to warn you that when your people contact me for a report, I'm going to say that you weren't participating meaningfully and we only had a 5-minute session, and that's going to be my report. But I want to tell you that is up to you, because I am not a part of that system, and I don't want any part of this punitive system to you. But I will tell you, as a therapist, I will not sit here and be ridiculed or treated badly. It's just not how I choose to live my life. And some clients would say, okay, fine, and they would walk out. And other clients that were mandated would say, oh, okay, fine, I guess I'll try to make this work. And then, you know, they'd make it work, and then I'd prove to them, that was always my hope, is that I could prove to them that therapy wasn't all that bad.
You know what, Michael? You're right. You win. This is pointless. We're not getting anywhere. I got a bunch of fun stuff in case my daughter ever comes over. Why don't we just run out the clock by playing games, drawing some pictures, talking?
So this is actually a very common technique that not only I use or have used. I don't have clients like this anymore. I haven't for many, many years, but I will talk with my trainees about using this technique with teenagers in particular and kids who are resistant. You can say, hey, you know what? Let's not do therapy. You might not say that, but you would say, let's not do this formal thing. You know, let's just play Legos, or let's just draw a picture, or let's do this. And you're, in a sense, kind of tricking the client into doing therapy. Now, in the best case scenario, the client knows what you're doing and you've laid it out to them. You might say to a 12-year-old, hey, it sounds like you don't want to talk, but would you rather draw a picture, and then we can talk about what you're drawing, and then the kid will say, yeah, okay, drawing's much better because I feel much more safe drawing than I do talking to a stranger. So the kid will start drawing, and you just say, oh, okay, you drew, what's going on there? And then it begins to open up a client in that way. So that's what Toby is doing right now, and I'm guessing Michael's going to fall for it.
It was weird, though. They took the pitcher out of the game, and I felt really bad because the pitcher wasn't going to be able to play with his friends anymore. But Jeff said that the manager was making a really good move by taking the pitcher out. He really respected the manager.
It's working. I'm doing it.
Again, what is it working towards? What is Toby trying to do? And this is a myth about therapy that some novice therapists actually still retain, which is the only reason why someone comes into your office as a client is you're trying to open them up. That is not the only reason. There should be some overall goal that you're headed towards, even if it is a sort of amorphous goal, like I'm trying to improve their self-esteem or I'm trying to help them explore who they are. There should be some goal there. Now, maybe Toby has that in his head for Michael, but oftentimes in these shows, they don't exhibit that. It's just like the purpose of therapy is to open people up and to get them talking, get them crying. And there can be a lot of usefulness to that, a lot of usefulness to having people feel safe enough to open up and to cry in therapy for sure. But as a clinician, you want to have some conceptualization as to why you're doing that.
I'm going to the park.
I was afraid I would find him in the park playing with another kid.
Why?
I guess that's why I thought he ran away in the first place, to find a kid he liked better.
Dogs don't do that.
Right? Why would a dog do that?
I don't know.
When I hear myself say it, it just sounds ridiculous, but I never said it out loud. So.
Okay, so we know a lot about Michael's personality on this show, and at least perhaps one of the factors, the relational traumas that he went through, was his dog ran away. And he concluded, possibly in the vacuum of other people telling him otherwise, that the dog left him because he wasn't a good enough person. And that can lead to a lot of feelings of inferiority, a lot of hurt, a lot of pain, a lot of loss, a lot of grief, unresolved. And that can cause a lot of defenses, perhaps trying to seem like you're cool, trying to put other people down, like Toby, as a way of compensating for this feeling of inadequacy on the inside.
Okay. You son of a gun. You son of a bitch. Wow. Okay.
Just trying to help you, Michael.
Bitch. God.
Michael.
You're very helpful, aren't you? You try to help everybody.
So he opened him up, and then he realized, wait, I've opened up. I've been vulnerable to Toby, and I didn't want to do this. And now I'm scared because of my issues, and I'm going to cover up that fear and perhaps the humiliation that he feels, even though there's no reason for him to feel humiliated. But I think given his schemas, he feels humiliated. He's going to come out with anger and hostility and power, put Toby down, establish himself as the big dog so that he can compensate for the fact that he feels unliked and inferior. And again, this is why we don't usually try to trick clients into doing therapy, because when they realize that you're trying to trick them, it can be very hurtful, as it should hurt people. If your therapist is trying to trick you, that can be extremely betraying.
I don't need your help. Nobody needs your help. Nobody wants it. You can't help anybody. I don't need your help. Am I gonna make you cry?
Just fill them out any way you want.
Okay.
Have Aaron fax them back to corporate.
Will do. Okay, filled out. Good. Thank you, doctor. Take 2 of these and call me in the morning.
All right, well, that does it for that episode in which I react to a therapy session with Toby and Michael on The Office. Send me whatever else you would like me to react to as well, particularly if it's on YouTube and I can just easily watch it. And everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.